Hello, and welcome back to Live, Laugh, Lore, a podcast where we unravel the mysterious world of myths, folklore, and legends. I'm Caroline.
I'm Emily.
If you're watching on
Welcome
YouTube,
back.
that's Edgar trying to get into the
Yeah.
food cabinet. If you're
Yeah.
listening, my cat's trying to get in the food cabinet.
It's a sound you've probably heard before.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching on YouTube, I am at a hotel today. I'm in Denver for a work trip and literally just got into the hotel like 15 minutes ago. And I look and smell exactly like I've spent all day on a plane. So
Yeah. You look fine.
please,
You look good.
thank
I,
you. I situated the lighting just right.
I feel like I look like I'm high, but I just am sick.
hmm So we're really firing on all cylinders today.
Feeling good. Remember when we were in Denver and we saw that man doing heroin?
Yes, I do. I thought about that today, actually.
It was so crazy.
It was wild.
And
Yes.
then we ordered Mexican food and we got a paloma and a
Uh-huh.
little,
In a little like Tupperware thing. Yeah. Yeah, when we were driving from South Carolina to Salt Lake City, Caroline was with me and we stopped in Denver and we ordered Uber Eats. And I remember having the worst heartburn from that paloma.
hmm
And I also remember my
What a trip.
cats in that hotel just not enjoying themselves at all.
If you move to Atlanta, are you gonna make me help you move? Because I've been thinking about that this weekend and I was like, she's gonna fucking make me help her move again.
No, not if you don't want. I'm not going to make you do anything. Not if
hmm
you don't want to. I would honestly look into flying them
Yeah.
at this point.
What about your car?
I would just have it moved, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to figure it
That's
out.
long.
No. I think as
Just
long as I'm not
flat.
moving in the winter, that would be much better.
That's true. I know. I
Yeah.
was like, is it just as far from Arizona? Because that took us a long ass time.
Yeah, probably about 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. If you think, wow, I really miss driving
Um,
in a car with two cats and an angry woman.
I
Mm.
actually think that doing a trip like that, it's like one and done for me. That was long.
Yeah. It'll be my third time doing it. But no, I think I would look into other means
Yeah.
of transportation this time
Train,
around. Because I don't want to do that shit again.
wagon.
Wagon. I haven't tried that. I flew today from Phoenix to Salt Lake and then Salt Lake to Denver. And you know how, well, I sent you a picture
hmm
of it, but they have like the little flight tracker on the screen.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that as it like crossed over the mountains. And I was just thinking to myself,
We drove through that.
fuck no. Well, yeah, we did drive through that, but also
Oh, yeah.
on a wagon, like the
I
Donner
know.
Party. Fuck no. Ugh, I was looking out the window at the mountaintops and I'm like, no,
How the
no,
fuck did they do that?
no, no,
That was crazy.
no. You would have lost me right at the beginning.
That's why I think about it every day of my life.
Yeah, I would not have made it. I would have been banished because I would have complained too much.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no. Leave me in Chicago. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want it that bad.
No, no,
I'm not risking my life and then eating my friends.
no. I also was thinking how shitty it would have been to be a child in that situation and or a
Yeah.
wife, honestly, because those two parties of people probably didn't have a
Yeah.
say at all
Maybe.
in
Oh
the goings
God.
on. Their husband
Goings
was like,
on,
"Let's
goings
move."
on.
And they were probably like, oh, "Okay."
She was like, but only if I can wear pants. They're like, devil woman.
Pack your bloomers. We're
Yeah,
going
could you imagine
west.
they did it in skirts?
Fuck
No.
no. Do you think they wore corsets? No.
Probably. Probably some sort of. They probably had a lot going on under the. Think about how
Many layers. I guess it
catamounts.
was very cold, so I guess it's probably good that they had that.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I was
what
just
was
saying
I
that I
thinking
have
about? Oh, yeah, because
what?
it snowed here, and when I was walking in the snow, I was like, God, I'm so cold. How did? That's just all I was thinking about. I was like, how did the Donner Party do this? I was like, God, it's just
I
so
mean, most of them
cold.
didn't, if we're
I know, but I was like, it really is so. It's so like when it's snowy outside, it's like different.
Yeah, no, driving in, it was not snowing here in Denver, but there was snow like on the roads and stuff. And driving through that, I immediately just got so stressed out and tense.
I
Flashbacks,
know.
war flashbacks were hitting me as I was driving of
Hmm.
me spinning out on the freeway in Salt Lake.
Oh my God, I forgot you did that.
My first
It's
week
not
there,
funny.
my first week there, I spun out on the freeway so bad. Like my car was facing backwards, facing traffic
That was like a
under a
bad
bridge.
week. It was
It
like that
was
first couple weeks. It was like,
bad, yes. And I got into work and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that'll happen to you like once a season. It's no big deal." I was like,
it's terrifying.
if
What are
that
you doing?
happens one more time and I don't die from it, if I survive it, I'm taking myself out.
That's
I don't want to do that
ridiculous.
again. That was horrible. No. And also it was very embarrassing. So it was terrifying and also shameful.
Yeah, shame.
Shame. And I was already the slowest one on the freeway and I still spun out. So I have an action-packed story
I'm
today.
so
So
excited.
I think our jibber jabber can be fairly short today.
That's fine.
So I do have a couple of questions for you before we get
Oh,
started. Yes, nothing too difficult. Number one, have you ever heard the word cattywampus?
yes, I use it.
Do so do I. Do you know where it comes from?
Mm, Ireland.
No, actually. You
I
would think
don't
so.
know.
That I understand where your head's at with that though.
I'm trying to think.
It
And
makes I get where your head's going. No, it's from the like Eastern Tennessee region, and it comes from
oh,
yes, it comes from a cryptid called the Wampus cat, which is not what I'm going over today, but it came up in my research as I was going over it, and I use the word cattywampus all the time, and
I thought that cattywampus meant crooked.
it does. It
Oh,
does. So the Wampus cat is like he looks he looks like a cat, but like a fucked up version of a cat.
yeah,
Like there's something wrong with him. He's got like an extra leg or
like
something. Like
Edgar.
there's always something going on. Yeah, exactly. And so that's where that's where that came from. Cattywampus. It means askew or
Oh, askew.
like uncanny valley
Mm.
kind of thing.
I know
So
what you're
anyways,
doing.
huh?
I know what you're doing.
Are you
I
looking
know.
at the notes right now?
Now I'm just gonna guess.
Okay, guess.
Is it the Moon Knight people?
No, it is not the Moonite
Oh,
people. Mm-mm. Do you want to guess again?
is it Mothman?
No,
Is it? It has to do with Appalachia?
kind of, sort of, not really. If you're guessing just Appalachia, you're probably not going to guess it.
Oh,
Yeah, part of
is it
it
a?
is there.
Is it a boo a boo hag?
No, you're not going to guess it.
All right.
I don't really even know how I stumbled on the topic, but I have been terrified of this creature since I was a child. It reignited after the Roanoke American Horror Story episode where this character
It's
shows
Lady
up.
Gaga.
No. Was she in that
Hmm.
Roanoke season?
She was.
Oh.
Mm.
Hmm.
Sh-
No, not Lady Gaga. We are going to be talking about the Pigman.
That I was about to guess that. Here, picky,
Yeah.
picky.
Yes. In American Horror Story, he's called the Piggy Man, and he's based off of one of the stories, local lore, I guess. Um,
Mm.
but the fun thing about the Pigman is he's not tied down to one region, essentially. Like
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of like Bloody Mary had a bunch of different sources and a bunch of different,
Mm-hmm.
or different
This
stories
is
based
too
on
bright.
the location. Pigman is very similar. It's a very popular theory or a very popular legend among small town America, and it's seen across the country.
So this is gonna
Uh,
scare the crap out of me.
yes,
Great.
yes.
Because I'm already scared for my video game and I keep having nightmares.
What video game are you playing?
Last of Us Part 2, and it's scarier than the first
Oh,
one.
I've heard that.
So,
Well, sorry. Yeah, this one is going to be a little bit scary. And
yay.
so, because you by far out of all of my friends do the best sound effects and accents and voices, I would love to hear your best pig
No,
sound. I
I'm
want to
not
hear it.
doing.
Okay, well,
No.
you should. You should as an accent. As an accent throughout my stories because
I'll
there's a
do
whole lot of
a.
squealing happening.
Oh my gosh. I bet you the mic wouldn't pick it up if I did it.
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. But yes, this story did scare me as I was
And
putting it together in broad daylight.
I can do a pig call.
Is that different?
It is different. It's when you're
Okay.
calling the pigs back to the pen.
Oh, okay.
You go, sweet, sweet, sweet.
And that's how you call the pig man.
Yeah, that's how you call a
No, it's
sow.
Ah, great. Where did you learn that?
Anyway, my mother,
Did she grow up with pigs or something?
well, she grew up in the country, so I
Oh.
mean, probably encountered quite a few pigs, but she used to do that when we were little. I think that's how she called us out.
Oh my God. Because you were her little piggies.
I don't know. That could be made up. I don't feel like I'm firing on all cylinders right now.
You know, who's going to check us?
N My mom.
Anyone.
But
Please don't. Yeah, please don't do that.
good.
Okay.
Let's hear
Um,
it.
so with that, we are going to explore the bizarre tale, versions of which have taken hold in many American rural towns, which is the legend of the Pig Man.
Rural.
Rural. I think
Rural.
I'm getting better at saying that. Rural.
Rural.
We're going to start in one area and move our way around the country. So our journey begins in the Meeman-Shelby Forest State Park, which is a sprawling 12,000 acre tract of woods alongside the mighty Mississippi River. This dense forest, situated just west of Millington, Tennessee, holds secrets older than most care to acknowledge. There were a lot of other creepy, spooky stories about this specific forest, state park.
I believe
But
it.
yes, but I thought the most terrifying story in that area was that of the Pigman. So, to reach the epicenter of this legend, you would take Shelby Road west, turn left on, and I heard this pronounced so many different ways online. Shakirag, Shakerag, Shakarag, don't know.
Shakira,
Shakerag,
Shakira.
Shakira. Turn left on Shakira Road.
Okay.
And eventually you will stumble upon the towering smokestacks of the Chickasaw Ordnance Works. They are remnants now, and it's all that's left of the World War II era factory that manufactured the volatile substance known as gun cotton. At its peak, this plant employed thousands and operated nearly 24/7, boasting an incredible safety record despite the dangerous work. So that's great. The workers at the plant were held to very stringent standards to mitigate safety risks, and employees were searched both when coming on shift and going off of shift. Smoking was strictly prohibited, and you could not even carry a ballpoint pen because they thought that the click of the pen would potentially spark the gun cotton and detonate the residue because
Dang.
it was essentially on everything. With that being said, where there is danger, there's often tragedy, especially during those times.
Yep.
And so this
Let
is
me
where
guess. Workers'
story
rights.
begins. No.
Oh,
I can see where you are going with that, though. But the story says that one day, a man working at the plant was disposing of some chemicals behind the tunnels and into the creek.
The crick.
Well, into the creek. So just dumping toxic chemicals
Great.
into the water.
Not
Um,
even gonna worry about the animals at this point because they're all probably dead.
so
But
that practice is prohibited now, but
oh,
it was a fairly common thing for industrial waste at the time, which is great. The hot Memphis days required, so Millington and Memphis are very close together, FYI.
mhm.
The hot Memphis days required those who worked outside to take regular breaks in the shade. So when this man finished dumping his barrels, he went to a nearby tree where he had stashed his cigarettes and matches for a smoke. As he struck the match, the spark ignited gun cotton residue on his hands and clothes, and the explosion that followed left him disfigured. His face was scarred beyond recognition, giving him the grotesque appearance of a pig's head atop a human body. For months, the
Wait.
man, what?
So he essentially blew up,
He like blew
or
up his
he
face, essentially.
ignited,
Hmm.
and his face was so disfigured it turned into a pig.
It just looked like a pig.
I
It
see.
wasn't actually a pig. This is one version of the story where,
I had a friend that caught on fire, and they used pig skin for the skin grafts.
really, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's not funny that he caught on fire.
No, God,
And
no,
also
no,
it,
no,
yeah.
no,
But
no, no.
anyways.
That is actually really interesting. I'm seeing more and more they're using pig body parts for
Mhm.
human like transplants and things like I saw something online that the first pig heart transplant into a human body was recently done. I did not read to see if
Oh,
it
oh
was
yeah,
successful, but
pig heart or pig valve.
I think it was a whole heart. I feel like this was a whole heart. Again, I didn't click on the
That's
article, so I
crazy.
don't really know what happened with that. That could
Oh,
be wrong.
okay. But yeah, no, I think he was like burned by oil, but
Remember
he
you
looked
telling me that.
totally normal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they did
Anyway.
not do that here in this story.
Hmm.
Um, So for months, the man recovered at the Kennedy Hospital in Memphis. And once he recovered sufficiently to be released, the cold world had no love for the man with the burned and scarred head. His
Hmm.
wife left him because his new visage,
Hmm.
visage, I don't know what that word, how to pronounce that.
You wrote
His new
it.
face frightened him, or frightened her and the children. His friends and family spurned him, saying they could not get over how grotesque the accident had left him. And the only place he could find refuge after the accident was back at the factory.
No.
Experienced labor that knew the chemical work to make gun cotton were very few, so the factory management allowed him to continue working for them until the war ended, even with his injuries. Said, "We can't spare anyone, so sure, come on back." Being shunned by his family and friends due to his appearance, he could not find a place to live and found himself sleeping under a bridge. Cast away from society, much like many throughout history with disfigurements, the man became bitter and angry. He would only come out to work at the factory, then go back to the bridge. His coworkers stopped and stared, some pointing and whispering about him, while others outright snubbed him. Then the day came, the factory closed, and he truly had nowhere to go. He stayed under his bridge and was hardly ever seen, only coming out at night to avoid people. Local children often whispered of a pigman who prowled the area, his bitterness fueling rumors of kidnappings and even cannibalism. The legend
Mm.
grew, tying the pigman to strange occurrences in the nearby Meeman-Shelby forest. Stories vary as to which bridge is the one in the legend. At the time of this story, that main road would have been right through the middle of the factory grounds. So people think that that is where that bridge is located. And while it's possible that's where the bridge was, another bridge stood at Epperson Mill Road, connecting to Shelby Road before a highway widening project was complete in the 50s. And the bridge there is said to have been washed out in a flood before the road project, leaving the pigman with nowhere to go except the countryside, leading to the Meeman-Shelby Forest State Park. Some think, however, that the pigman still lives under the bridge on Shakirag Road, at the turn just past the smokestacks. I promise I really did look up. I tried to figure
I
out how to
believe
pronounce
you.
that. And every TikTok, every YouTube video, they all pronounce it differently. So it's like,
You know what? If I got through the last one with my French pronunciations, I
yeah,
don't ever wanna feel like I did
like I
that
did that
day
day. Hmm.
under the bridge. Isn't
Under the
that under the
bridge.
bridge?
I think
Is
so. I
that
think you're
sc-
right.
I could be wrong. I really don't know what's going on.
Sure. Yeah. So, thrill seekers claim that you can summon the Pigman by stopping on the Shakirig Road Bridge during a full moon, flashing your car lights 3 times, rolling down your window, and calling out, Pigman, Pigman, Pigman. Say it 3 times.
Oh, don't do it.
Don't do it. While no credible sightings have been reported, campers in the forest have shared eerie accounts of strange noises and shadowy figures. An investigation group called Southern Paranormal of Tennessee spent time at the smokestacks with K2 meters, supposedly having a conversation with the spirit of a little boy at the site. During the conversation, the little boy communicated through turning flashlights off and on and lighting up the K2 meter when he was asked questions. During the course of the investigation, they claimed to see a shadowy figure cross the field next to where they were. When asking the boy who the shadow figure was, the responses on the K2 meter indicated the boy might be afraid of it. He answered yes when asked if it was the mean person. Don't know what that means.
Okay.
Was the shadow figure the pigman stalking the area or some other malevolent entity on the factory grounds? Additional footage of that night provided some EVP evidence of different disembodied voices. So it could be a number of different things, they think,
Mm-hmm.
but spooky nonetheless.
Spooky.
Spooky. So, this, like many other stories that we've covered, it has just vague enough details in the story to where people can kind of run
Mm-hmm.
wild online and come up
Right.
with their own stories. So I am going to tell you one Reddit story specific to the region of Tennessee, Memphis,
Okay.
Tennessee. And it's written by a Reddit user who has since deleted their account, but they posted this in the No Sleep forum thread.
Mm.
And they entitled it The Man in the Pig Mask. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh.
Most people gain a sense of serenity and calm, imagining a guardian angel watching over and protecting them. I cannot relate to this comfort. My first memory of the man in the pig mask was when I was 6. I awoke one night with my parents screaming and fighting. When my eyes adjusted, I saw him standing in the dark corner of my room.
Nope.
He
No.
stood,
No.
he's,
Cut. Cut the tapes. Cut the
I
tapes.
haven't even made it through the first
I don't
paragraph.
give a shit. Do not continue
I have
with the
to.
dark corner thing. I hate it. I'm taking my headphones off.
No, you have to listen. I'm going to start that back over. All right. When my eyes adjusted, I saw him standing in the dark corner of my room. He stood silently in his flannel shirt and denim overalls. He was holding a machete. He was wearing a hollowed out pig's head over his own head. I could tell it was hollowed because I could see a glint of light deep in the shadows of the pig's hollowed out eye sockets. He slowly put a finger over the mouth of the pig, which seemed to be slightly smiling. I could never tell if it was the pig's face that was smiling or the man underneath it. Nothing happened that night. I drifted off back to sleep, but awoke a few minutes later with the man in the pig mask sitting on my bed, stroking my hair.
I hate
Even
that. Ugh, I'm gonna throw up. I
you
hate
are
it.
ruining
I'm
my
so sorry.
story here.
I know, but it's disgusting.
Okay. Even at 6, I was disturbed, but also awkwardly calmed because my parents never showed such affection. The next day, I asked my parents about the man in the pig mask. They told me it was just a dream and to put it out of my mind. After that night, I would do drawings of him protecting me, but my parents would always throw them away. I didn't mind because the fighting also stopped. For some reason, the drawings made my mother weep, so I stopped doing them. I never really put it all together until I was in college. A frat brother took a fatal fall down a set of stairs the day after he cut me with a broken bottle during a drunken argument. It finally occurred to me everyone who hurt me my entire life would end up brutally murdered. A neighbor slapped me when I was 8 after he caught me taking a watermelon from his garden. My parents didn't call the cops or anything, they just told him he needed to leave town immediately. Later, they told me whatever happens to him, it's not my fault. He did not heed their advice. A week later, most of his body was burned with a blowtorch, and he was hung naked on an interstate overpass. When I was 13, a baseball coach got so angry with me after blowing a game, he threw a baseball at me, which hit me in the face. I had a black eye for a week. The cops questioned him, but he claimed I missed a fly ball in practice. 3 days later, he and his entire family were murdered with a baseball bat. My parents never told me the details, but I pulled up the old police reports while doing my research a few weeks ago. He tied my coach up and bashed his entire family's heads in and made him watch. He killed him last, but not before breaking every bone in his body. Finally, a high school teacher molested me. It was nothing serious as far as that kind of thing goes.
It
Yes, it
sounds
was.
serious.
Sounds pretty serious. It was over before I realized what had happened, honestly. He told me if I wanted to pass his class and play baseball in college, that I would have to do things for him. I honestly was conflicted for days about what to do before the problem resolved itself. He died in a fiery car crash. People say he was duct taped to his seat. After my frat brother was killed, I pieced the pattern together. I spent the next several years looking over my shoulder and wondering, but most importantly, I was keeping a low profile. Many years later, after I was happily married with kids and I had moved on from playing minor league baseball, I had to get a grown up job. Long story short, this guy at work was a real ass. Sociopath, in fact. Enjoyed getting people fired for fun. He had a sinister reputation, but unfortunately had worked himself into the role of corporate HR director, so was pretty much untouchable. As much as he made my life hell, I owe him a debt of gratitude. He removed all doubts that I had. For a long time, it was mostly passive aggressive bullshit, delaying my paycheck, getting me written up on policy violations, etc. After months of subtly torturing me, he finally worked up the nerve to confront me in the parking garage when he thought we were alone. He was mistaken. He went into great detail about how he was going to enjoy ruining my life. Despite this, I warned him to leave as quickly as he could because I feared his life was now in danger, knowing he would scoff. I wondered if it would happen, and it did. The next morning, when we came into the office, his disemboweled and castrated body was found splayed over the corporate logo of our building. I was now convinced beyond all doubt. The man in the pig mask must be real, and worse, he must keep close eyes on me at all times. He's always near and always has been. I spent the next several weeks looking around, wondering where he was, knowing he was close all the time. I looked for him throughout my day. It became my own personal obsession. Shadows inside bushes began looking like pig heads. Distorted reflections of people's faces in windows and traffic began looking like pig heads. I never told my wife. Why wouldn't you tell your wife?
Why would I?
I
It
feel like you
sounds
should
like
tell your wife. I don't know. Whatever.
sounds like
Maybe
he
not.
needs to go to the doctor.
I was amazed that he was able to keep himself hidden so well. Then it occurred to me that's an impossible feat. He had to have been caught in photographs. I went through several old photographs of important moments in my life. It took me dozens of hours going through at least 100 old photo albums at my parents' and grandmother's house, but I found 5 pictures of him lurking in the shadowy woods near me in various
Oh,
photographs. It
mm-mm.
was undeniable, the slightly smiling pig head gazing at me from afar while I was focused on the camera. One of the photos was at my wedding. I did the research first and then went to the police. I collected old news articles and showed how they all connected to me. I knew if I didn't have all the information linking everything along with photographic proof, they would think I was crazy. I would still think you were crazy.
I would.
Yeah. It took weeks, but an investigator questioned my parents, who confessed they knew who my guardian angel was. He was an uncle I never met. In fact, didn't even know about. My mom's younger brother, Larry. She explained to the police that Larry took a liking to me right after I was born, but suffered a traumatic brain injury in a car wreck soon after. After he recovered, he became obsessed with me. He faded away into obscurity off the grid. The police eventually tracked him down and arrested him at his shack in the woods, deep in the Tennessee mountains. He had dozens of hollowed out pigs' heads that he wore in his home. One of them was his angry pig mask covered in blood. Apparently, this was the mask he did his killing in. But that was not the most disturbing thing they found. In his home were almost 11,000 spiral notebooks filled cover to cover with the same sentence. Aaron is a special boy.
Oh
Aaron is
my,
a special boy. Aaron is a special boy.
absolutely not.
Shortly after being locked away, he committed suicide. He bashed his own head in, ramming it into his cell door, screaming, "Let me out! Aaron needs my protection." Which is kind of sad. I'm not sure how I feel about guardian angels. If they're anything like mine, I think humanity would be better off without them. The end. So,
Ew.
uh, that's one of many very gruesome, very violent versions of the Tennessee Pigman story. Regardless of the storyteller, though, specifically with most Pigman stories that we'll go over, the underlying theme is that this person has gone through some sort of traumatic event in their life
Mm.
that
So
has
it's
caused
not
them.
just like one pigman, there's like different versions of it.
There are many different versions. So I will go, that was the Tennessee one. I wanted to share that story, so I wanted to start with that one. I'll quickly go through some of the other versions and then we'll end with another very spooky story. In Denton, Texas, there's a tale of a drug runner that was mutilated by his gang under Bonnie Bray Bridge, another bridge. The tale says a drug runner in the 60s was caught and mutilated under the bridge by the gang he ran for, carving his face to look like a pig because he squealed, quote, squealed to the police.
Does this make you to squeal?
Sure, yes.
I don't know that I can.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think you should. Unless you feel really strongly about it, I don't think you should. Okay. Angola, New York also has a bizarre tale of the pigman of Road Bridge, another bridge. They say he was a farmer that placed severed hogs' heads on pikes near his property line to frighten people away from trespassing. He really did not like people at all. It is
No.
said that a group of boys went to put the legend to the test, encountering the pigman, who then placed their severed heads on pikes in place of the pigs.
Oh.
So I think he just was kind of a psychopath that suffered from extreme agoraphobia. But and then Hawkinsville, Georgia also has a pigman on Holland Road that runs through several tunnels. So not a bridge, but tunnels in this situation.
Hmm.
He is said to be a circus trainer who enjoyed the company of his pigs more than people. One day he fell next to their trough and the pigs killed and ate him. Pigs will
No,
eat
they would.
people.
No.
Did you know that?
No, they won't.
Yes, they will. They will eat everything.
Pigs are one of the smartest animals.
Yeah, but they will eat humans. There's uh something Pickman. I forget what his first name was, but
Yeah. He was a serial killer.
yeah, he would feed the bodies to his pigs.
I have a thing.
Huh? Oh no, don't show me that.
This is Knuckles. I don't know that I
No.
added this in the beginning. Probably should have, but my favorite animal growing up was a pig.
Oh. And see, when I was
I
a
love.
kid, I learned of the Pigman way too soon and I was terrified, but
This is Knuckles. I actually, this like really comforts me.
well, he he's very cute. Pigs are lovely creatures, and I do love pigs. I don't like pig men. That's really when the men get involved, that's really where my allegiance fails. So anyways, one day he fell next to their trough and the pigs killed and ate him. His ghost is said to haunt the tunnels, appearing with the body of a man but the head of a pig. A version of this story may have inspired the American Horror Story version of the Piggy Man.
Ooh.
FYI. And in Vermont's Northfield, there's the infamous Pigman of the Devil's Wash Bowl. So we're going to spend some time talking about this one. This is another, when people talk about the Pigman, the Memphis version and the Northfield, Vermont version, those are the two ones that come up the most.
Mm.
So the Pigman of the Devil's Wash Bowl, also known as the Northfield Pigman, Pigman of Northfield, Pigman of Northfield, Vermont.
Okay.
They're very creative with their names. This is a creature with a pig's face that terrorizes teenagers. But something that is different about this version, they say that his body is essentially covered in like white or really light colored hair, and he has claws.
Albino.
Yeah,
Oh.
essentially. And he has claws, sharp teeth, and the pig head. But the rest
Uh-huh.
of his body looks like it's like human shape. So, in order to do this story justice, I am going to share a retelling of the Northfield Pigman legend by a local Vermont native who also is a Reddit user. And they posted this story on Reddit under the username W. Dolphin. That was
Dolphin,
supposed to be
Dolphin,
Dolphin,
Dolphin.
maybe.
How's it
It's
spelled? Oh,
Dalphin.
I don't know.
Okay. Like dolphin, but with an A.
Got it.
Anyways, so this is entitled The Pigman of Northfield. My family lived in Vermont for a number of years in a small town called Northfield, south of Montpelier. There's a local legend in Northfield of a thing known as the Pigman. The story has multiple versions, as most do, but there are some parts that are always the same. Back in 1951, the night before Halloween, this 17-year-old kid named Sam Harris went out on his own with a basket of eggs to cause mischief. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him, just that he never came home and was never found. Years later, some high school kids were out drinking behind the school one night during a dance when this thing came walking out of the woods on two human legs. It was naked, covered in white hair, and was wearing a hollowed out pig's head like some grotesque mask. Naturally, the kids tore out of there and went and told everyone. Word spread, and some farmer admitted he'd seen a figure matching that description digging through his garbage one night. Some pigs had also gone missing recently. More sightings were made of the pigman as it became known, but many times the claims were just kids wanting to get attention. Now, whether this thing is Sam Harris or this thing ate Sam Harris, nobody in town knows for sure, but what they do know is that it isn't afraid of people and it really likes to eat meat.
I mean, if I'm gonna use my deductive reasoning, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
say it probably ate him because it's a pig man.
So the theory is either Sam went out because he was known to be a very mischievous boy, apparently.
Mm,
Sam either went out and made a deal with the devil. Apparently, it was a because the devil's wash bowl, it's what it sounds like. It's supposed to be like the devil's bathtub. And so the legend is that Sam went out to the devil's wash bowl, made a deal with the devil, and now he's the pig man. Either that or the pig man already existed and ate Sam.
yeah.
One or the other. So the Devil's Wash Bowl, it has a river and waterfalls and a number of caves. So it's this kind of labyrinth of water. After more sightings of the pigman were made out by the wash bowl, some people went investigating and found that one cave in particular was littered with animal bones, some of which were pig. It got around that they'd found the lair of the pigman, and it became popular for teens to go out to the Devil's Wash Bowl at night and try to catch a sight of him. My sister and a couple of her friends went out to the Devil's Wash Bowl their senior year. They took sleeping bags and flashlights and all the gear you'd take to go camping. I wasn't there to give a firsthand account of what transpired. I was only 8 at the time, but I can tell you what they told me. There were 6 or 8 of them, depending on who you ask, all couples. They picked a number of caves, one for each pair. My sister and her boyfriend were in their cave, and she was rolling out their sleeping bags, and he was trying to start a fire when they heard some shouts and then screaming from one of the other caves. When they got there, the girl was curled up in a ball in the farthest corner of the cave, and her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. She told them that the pigman had come trudging into their cave, completely undaunted by their presence. The guy had started shouting at it, both to drive it away and to get the other's attention. The pigman casually picked up a large rock and struck the guy in the side of the head with it, knocking him unconscious. It picked him up, slung him over its shoulder, and shambled out of the cave just moments before the rest arrived.
Ew.
Nobody had seen it exit the cave nor seen signs of it at all. They did find the rock lying on the cave floor with blood on it and bare footprints in some soft creek mud outside. The girls all drove into town and went straight to the police. The remaining boys, whether it was 2 or 3 of them, grabbed flashlights and makeshift weapons. Why? And scoured the woods around the area. Stupid.
Just leave.
Just just leave.
Just go.
What are you doing? The footprints disappeared at the edge of the road and they lost the trail there. Search parties were set up. A couple days later, some articles of the guy's clothes were found by a search dog. They had been left torn and scattered in an abandoned farmhouse a town over. The missing teen's photo was put up in the area, and one guy came forward. He said the other night he'd awakened to the sound of someone lurking outside his house. He checked out his kitchen window, and there was someone rummaging through the trash can by his garage. The person was only wearing a faded and ripped pair of jeans. When the man hit the porch light, the intruder looked up and had looked just like the kid in the photo. The only difference was that his body was covered with white hair and his eyes looked kind of hollow.
Ew. Ew.
Which leads me to believe this is like a werewolf situation where like there's multiple
Mm.
pigmen. They like you get bit by one pigman and you turn into it.
Like a zombie.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. In fact, I think in some pictures I found, it was called like the zombie pigman
Mm.
of Northfield. So yeah.
Ew.
And so this is a very big story too in Northfield as well as in Memphis, that story
Mm-hmm.
as well. And it's a kind of like among the locals, whispered amongst each other. Depending on the storyteller, the details of the story changes, as with
Right.
most of the stories that we talk about. But there are striking similarities amongst all of these stories, regardless of the location. There are bridges,
Mm-hmm.
secluded roads, and a
Mm-hmm.
connection to the 1950s, which I don't know if you noticed that, but a lot of these stories originate in the 50s, 60s
What was going
timeframe.
on in the 50s?
Well, the theory is that this is when people would go on car dates a lot and would try to
Mm-hmm.
find places in the woods to park. Teenagers, mainly. And teenagers are usually the ones who are the victims in these stories as well. So, kind of makes you wonder, were these stories just kind of crafted as cautionary tales to deter the
Mm.
teenagers from sneaking off into the woods? Or is there a more sinister truth behind it all?
Like my
Who
brain went to
knows?
nuclear. I was like,
I mean, there was a theory that this could be like an alien race that is just scattered
well, because that's
around.
like post-world 1950s is post-World War II.
That's true. That's true.
But we didn't have any nuclear bombs dropped here. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, man. One other thing, too, that is common amongst them all that I mentioned earlier, there's usually some sort of tragic event or tragic
Right.
accident that causes this to happen, which I think is also, it kind of ties into the whole cautionary tale of it
Mm-hmm.
all. There were a lot of stories about people just running into other people who were definitely experiencing homelessness, also probably certainly mentally ill, and
Yeah.
that those run-ins kind of would fuel these rumors,
Right.
especially if that person happened to be disfigured or just, looked off in any sort of way. There was a lot of those types of
Mm-hmm.
stories, mainly, kids being stupid and running into areas that they're not supposed to be in and running into
Right.
someone's
Right.
dwelling. So I do think that that has kept the stories alive as long as they have been alive, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just my theory. Either way, though, it's a another example of the collective imagination,
Mm-hmm.
how it can run wild, storytelling,
Right.
and kind of how that all is inspired.
Well, it's
Um,
like in so many different areas of the US, so
mhm.
it's interesting that it's so common it has to originate from one.
Apparently not. I mean, that is also interesting because they all seem to have happened at the same time or around the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a story in Texas, there's a story in New York, there's a story in
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee. Like those aren't super
North,
close to each other.
New York and Texas are not close.
Mm-mm. And I mean, granted, they're different stories, but they have the same kind of premise. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
This also reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think I have a problem with
Mm-hmm.
masks. I think that's my issue.
Masks are scary
I
because,
hate masks.
yeah, it like distorts the.
Hmm. I don't know who
It's
you
like
are.
the eyes for me. I'm like,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's
Um,
very like
Scooby-Doo
Hannibal
taught
Lecter.
me to never trust a mask. Who's
Yeah,
under the
this whole
pig?
thing, I just kept thinking of Hannibal Lecter
Ooh. Wait, why?
because he, at the end, He puts the
Oh, the face.
face
Yeah,
on
yeah,
his
yeah.
face.
The face on his face.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So scary stuff. That part of American Horror Story, I couldn't watch those episodes. They scared
Was that the
the
from
shit
the
out of
guy
me.
who was in Modern Family?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that was Coven that he did that.
No, it was Roanoke. I looked it up.
Right, right. But I think he does like the Here Piggy Piggy in Coven also.
Oh, okay, okay. They
Because
did say
I
that
don't,
it came up multiple times, but
yeah, because I didn't
yeah,
watch Roanoke because I was like, I remember getting pretty angry. Um, I was
it's
like,
not.
this doesn't look like Roanoke. And I was like,
Roanoke was my favorite at the beginning. This is my gripe with American Horror Story. We're gonna get into this now. They start off so strong. In my personal opinion, there's too many episodes in each season of American Horror
I
Story because they
agree.
start off really strong. The story is like, wow, this is amazing. It should end like halfway through with every single season except for Coven. I loved Coven, but even that one kind of went on a little too long.
I think I
Um,
Hotel dragged on.
oh my God. Yes,
I was
that
like,
one, the election one, I
I didn't
couldn't,
watch that
I
one.
hated that one.
I didn't watch
And
that
then
one.
Roanoke, I thought was like the best season. Like it was
Really?
terrifying until it got to be like halfway through, and I was like, this should be the ending. And then they just kept going, and then they lost me. I was like,
Mm.
now you're just doing shit to do shit. Like this makes no
Yeah.
sense.
I didn't
So
watch that. That was the last season Lady Gaga was in, and I was gonna watch it, and then I was like irritated how they depicted Roanoke. But
yeah.
Lady Gaga was like some creature, and she had like really long hair, and she's like plagued with misfortune. That's how she talked.
Wow. Okay, I don't remember that. It was a long
She-
time ago. All I remember
okay.
is the Pigman, and I remember him showing up at somebody's house and me being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God.
I think I remember what you're talking about. God,
Yes.
I was in how I was like 20.
I lived in Charlotte when that came out.
I was in college, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know.
in college in 2016. It was 2016,
Oh
September
shit.
14th. Yep, I remember sitting on my bed
I keep
in
forgetting you're younger than
September.
me.
Just slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that and being like, what?
Well, anyways, that's all I got.
I am
That is my
so
story today.
I
It
love
wasn't
it.
that scary, right?
It was scary. No, it wasn't that bad. I didn't like the first story that much,
Yeah.
but it was fun.
Anyways, well, I think you need to go to bed. I need to get some food.
I know. I'm scared what I'm gonna wake up to tomorrow. Is it gonna be
Yeah,
worse? Am I just tired?
I don't know. But be sure to check the corners of your room
Shut up.
tonight for Piggy Man.
Literally. All right. I need to go to bed.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Peace out. Bye bye. Peace out. A-Town. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, don't forget to show us some love and like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on whichever platform you choose.
You can also find us on Instagram at livelaughLore_pod, on TikTok at Live Laugh Lore Podcast, and on our YouTube channel, Live Laugh Lore.
And if you have any questions, comments, or just want to say hi, feel free to email us at podcast.livelaughLore@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.